episode of Turn Left. I am your host, Indiana's own Dana Black, coming to you live. Yes, all the way live from Black Girl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Well, primary season is definitely heating up. I love that we have some amazing Democrats running against each other and are being very, very, very adult-like. It's amazing. I love it. What do I always say? I always repeat what my congressman says. My amazing congressman, Congressman Carson. Iron sharpens iron, and competition is good. But it seems as if on that other side of the aisle, ooh, Lord Jesus, have mercy. Have y'all seen any of the gubernatorial debates? I know I have. I've watched them. And yeah, none of those individuals are at all interested in moving Indiana in a very positive direction. They want to keep everything status quo. Now, they want to say that Holcomb didn't do much or that he might have got a B or a C grade, but they don't want to do anything much different than them. I mean, let's think about it. One, we are surrounded by states that have legalized marijuana in one form or another. These guys, I don't care if it's Chambers, Crouch, Doden, Braun, Hill, none of them want to legalize marijuana. Well, let's think about this for just a second. So Kentucky and Illinois and Ohio and Michigan have all in some way legalized marijuana. If you have a vehicle and you say you want some stuff, it's less than a 2-hour drive in any direction. No matter where you are, less than 2 hours. You're going to go get what you want because it's legal in another place. But instead of Indiana getting that revenue, Michigan, Illinois, Ohio, and Kentucky are getting that revenue. Interesting. Now, you would think someone like Lieutenant Governor Crouch, who wants to eliminate the income tax, which already we see that some of our agencies are underfunded and don't know how to count. She wants to eliminate the income tax, would invite that extra marijuana revenue in. You would think. But no, these folks want to think marijuana is just like fentanyl, and it's not. If I were Jennifer McCormick, and I am not, obviously, but if I were Jennifer McCormick, I would lean in so hard on saying that she would do whatever it takes to legalize cannabis, whether it be medical or recreational, because Hoosiers up and down the state have talked about the desire to legalize cannabis. But these guys on the other side do not care what you want. Don't care. And they have the audacity to talk about it as an addictive drug. It's not the same, and they know it. You know, and Chambers even says, well, we need to study it. How much more studying do you need? Colorado been doing it for a while. All these other places are doing it. They're already doing it. But Indiana is missing out. So last night, another question was, would they keep their diversity, equity, and inclusion office? Chambers, Crouch, Doden, Braun, and Hill all said no. You know, what was most interesting was Crouch was talking out of both sides of her neck. She said, no, we don't need diversity and inclusion. No, we don't need that. But if we're going to have diversity and inclusion, then we need to do something for our differently abled Hoosiers. You get no argument from me, girl. None whatsoever. I do believe that people with different abilities should have the same opportunities as everybody else. But you can't say it's not DEI. But what I found most interesting is that the 4 white people and the one Elvis impersonator, and see, y'all think that Elvis impersonator is one of the white folks. No, it's the one black dude. They're all saying that we don't need DEI. Well, let's look at it. African Americans are foreclosed on more than everybody else. We're not hired at the same rate in certain roles, and we don't get loans at the same rates in neighborhoods and communities. Maybe there is something to this race-based thing. maybe I'm just bugging. I know what it is. My last name is Black, and therefore that's why I see it, right? That's up. That's what's up. But these folks simply believe that, turnabout fair play. We're all going to be fair with each other. We're just going to be fair. It doesn't work like that. Think about it. Venture capitalists only invest like 2% in Black businesses. But then when we set up our own funding for Black women-owned businesses, then white people want to sue and be like, oh, no, they're discriminatory. Oh, my God, they're discriminatory. But this is what this is what's going to be on the ballot. One of these people, they're all the same. They ain't saying nothing different. I do find it interesting that they all want to attack Braun. Of course, Braun has been in the United States Senate, and they want to talk about the border. Oh, my God, we got to shore up the border. But when he had an opportunity to do that, he didn't sign it. And he's been called out on it by his fellow Republicans. Yeah. And let's talk about abortion. Let's talk about women's access to reproductive health care. Now, they're all good with IVS. They're all good with IVF. But if you are a victim of rape or incest, then you have to carry your child to term. I keep waiting for these folks to talk about how they're going to eliminate rape and incest, but I guess they can't do that. So you women, good luck. Good luck to you. Because these clowns don't care about your mental health whatsoever. And the IVF, I don't know if y'all know it or not, but there was a bill that was introduced this year. It didn't get called to a committee. It didn't get called to a floor. But it was a bill introduced this year to say that, fertilized fetuses could get tax deductions. You know what that's leading to? That means that if the fetus can get a tax deduction as a dependent, that means it's a child and it's a living being, right? Yeah, no. See, I'm telling y'all, these candidates that are running for governor, none of them make me happy. I'm not. And they talked about infrastructure too, which I thought was interesting because we know that some of our smaller towns and communities are facing, floods on a regular basis. The infrastructure is terrible. And I'm going to pick on, again, Lieutenant Governor Crouch, because she talked about how, and every time she talks about infrastructure, she always talks about high-speed internet. She has been talking about high-speed internet since 2016. 2016, she has been talking about high-speed internet. And you know what? She's done absolutely nothing. Absolutely nothing. All of these people, they got all these plans. Do you want Curtis Hill, the touchy-feely guy? The guy that goes around and gropes women? Is that who you want? Doden, even though he sounds reasonable, he wants to run Indiana like a business. In fact, Chambers wants to run Indiana like a business. Can I remind you all of something? The reason why government takes care of certain things, because certain things that humans need are not profitable. You're not going to turn a profit for taking care of people's health care. You're not going to turn a profit immediately. There is a rate of return on giving young people quality education. But these guys are not it. I am not impressed with any of these folks. And I hope, y'all, they're not it. They're not it. Now, the cool thing about running for a statewide office is that it's not gerrymandered. Right. It is not gerrymandered. All we have to do is turn out. So let me talk to you, Marion County. Let me talk to you for a minute. Do you realize last year we only had a 12% voter turnout of all registered voters? 12%. Let's think if we move that up. I'm not saying every registered voter. Let's just say we move that up to 60%. Do you realize what kind of change we can make in this state? Do you realize? 60%. We can run this thing. All we got to do is get out and vote and encourage people in Allen County, Lake County, St. Joseph County, Vanderburgh County to get out and vote. These people do not care about you. They don't care about you. They care about their homies. They don't even care if you get an equal shake and get an opportunity to learn about who they are and if anybody learns about who you are and your experiences in this world. Now, Jennifer McCormick, she used to be a Republican. I know. And y'all, if y'all have noticed, I haven't really talked about her much because I wanted to see. I'm going to be real honest. I wanted to see. You were the last Republican statewide elected school superintendent. The last one. So I wanted to talk to her. I wanted to hear her story. I wanted to see how she interacted with us. And I'm going to tell you what she did. When she left her party, because she realized that they weren't actually interested in educating children, she teamed up with now the mayor of Gary, right? Who was the state senator at the time. And I'm having a brain freeze. That's why I can't think of his name. Eddie Melton. So she teamed up with Eddie Melton, and they were going to do a statewide tour. First thing she did was align herself with prominent Democrats. And she started to understand the issues that matter to us. She started to have those conversations about what it means to lead all of Indiana, not just a partial Indiana. Education is still her key. She does not like the voucher program. She does not like how we're defunding public education. She wants to back our teachers. She wants to support our teachers. I'm with that 100%. But she also talks about protecting LGBTQ plus rights. She also talks about protecting unions, protecting the environment, something that our young folks care about deeply because they would like to have a country, a land to live on when we're all dead. So I'm going to encourage you all to take a look at her. I'm not telling you what to do. I'm telling you to take a look at her. Read her platform, Jennifer McCormick for governor. Read her platform and see if it aligns with your values. Yes, I am working on things to have a show with her. Hopefully, if we can work it all out, we'll take it on the road so that she can have some town halls in some places, because I think she's a better choice than what they presented to us in this debate last night. At least you ought to give her a listen. Like I said, it took her a while to win me over because, again, I wasn't sure if it was being opportunistic. I wasn't sure. I wanted to know. But take a look at her platform and you decide for yourself, because Indiana, how much more of this are y'all willing to take? How much more of this are y'all willing to sit back and watch people just do whatever to us? All right. So go watch the debates. Which TV had the debate last night? Go on their website, watch the debate. Go on YouTube. There's several of them out there. Guys, we can do better than this. I promise you we can do better than this. One piece of news that I do want to share with you. There are two debates. Two debates are scheduled next month for the Democratic candidates vying to serve Senate District 3 and House District 3 to speak about their qualifications to represent the interests of Lake County residents at the State House. The Senate debate between State Senator Dave Van Zandt of Hobart and Gary Councilman Mark Spencer is set for 6 p.m. April 4th at the Dean and Barbara White Community Center, 6600 Broadway in Maryville. Democratic leader in the 3rd Senate District, which includes portions of Gary, Hobart, Lake, and Maryville, and New Chicago. In January, Van Zandt was selected a longtime Hobart councilman to represent the district for 11 months, remaining in Eddie Melton's term after he resigned from the Senate to become Gary's mayor. And hold on just for a second, and I will tell you exactly when the second debate is, because apparently I didn't get all the information. Lucky me. But I wanted to share this with y'all because, again, you want to be aware of when these debates are so that you can have a good idea who you want to vote for in the primary. Okay. The second debate, the House debate between 3-term state representative Reagan Hatcher from Gary and Heather McCarthy of Gary attorney is scheduled for 6 p.m. April 11th at the Gary Public Library and Cultural Center at 220 West 5th Avenue. The general election winner in the 3rd House District, which spans Gary's downtown. You guys all know that. So, guys, if you are in the Gary area or you know people in the Gary area, tune into those debates because civic engagement is so important. If you get a chance to go to those debates, you probably should try to go. Right. I live in Indy. I probably won't be there, but those are seats that we're going to win. But it's important to see who's going to represent you. So if you're not registered to vote, you have 2 more weeks, I do believe, to do so. If you want to vote in the primary, you should vote in the primary. Guys, take this stuff seriously. Your lives depend on it. Everything in your life is based on policy. And if you're not infecting or impacting policy, policy is going to impact you, and you may not like the way it impacts you. So get involved. All right, that is my rant. Now it's time for my sponsor, Bohm's Unique Boutique. Today's show is brought to you by Bohm's Unique Boutique. Click on the QR code. And for all Turn Left listeners, you can get a 10% discount on your order by using the code Democrat. Be sure to visit www.bohmsuniqueboutique.com. Democrats, are you looking for an affordable content creation option? If so, look no further than Black Pearl IT Solutions and Black Pearl Studios. Indiana's own Dana Black is providing many of the communication wraparound services any Democratic organization needs. No matter the size of the budget, Indiana's own has you covered. Just scan the QR code or visit www.blackpearl_its.com. All right. So guys, get engaged and get involved. But tonight, I got to tell y'all something. I am like so crazy excited about my guest. Okay. We have worked at the city together. She is by far one of the smartest humans you will ever come across. And when I didn't always get it right, we would talk through it. And that's the kind of leader you want. Y'all, give it up to my guest tonight, running for the Marion County Coroner, Alfie McGinty. Alfie, welcome to the show.
Hello. How are you?
I am fantastic. How you been?
I'm good. I am great. I am absolutely great. Thank you. And you've been okay too?
Yeah, I'm over here living my best life. I get to talk about how I can help elect Democrats all day, every day. So absolutely. You're running. You decided to run.
I am doing this. Well, I've been with the coroner's office for 26 years.
Yeah.
And I've been the chief deputy for 18.
Wow.
And I've served under 4 coroners.
Okay.
And for the last 18 years as chief deputy, I've served under 3 coroners.
Wow.
And the decision, and there was a question about, well, who was going to run for coroner? Because the coroner is term limited.
Mm.
And so there was a question about who was going to run. And I'm like, oh, I'll help find someone. And someone said, well, why not you? And I said, well, historically, it's been a physician. And what, me? I don't know that I would do that. And it's kind of a pay cut. So after a lot of thought and prayer, I decided that I was going to run and I was going to lead this agency and continue the work that I have started.
I love it. I'm cheering, because it's not easy. We don't often think, especially as Black women, we often have to be asked a gazillion times to do something. But honestly, it doesn't appear that there's anyone more qualified than you.
And I never looked at it that way. I never looked at it as far as qualifications, because my thought process was, I will just train whoever's going to come in. While I do the work, I will train them to just simply be the face for the agency. And then I thought, well, if I'm going to do the work, why don't I do the work?
I love it.
And be the leader of the agency. And it's a bigger job.
Yeah.
And so I really had to really take some time, digest, running for office is different
Yeah.
than just being a worker within an
Yeah.
office.
Oh, yeah.
Even if, people always say you run the office anyway. I know, but I have not run for the office.
Right. Right.
And being a worker within the office and implementing the things, the policies, the procedures, the management of the staff is much different than being the elected official.
Absolutely.
And that was not on my bucket list.
Well, it usually never is. It usually never is. Well, tell the people who you are and where you come from. Give us your little history. We know you've been there for 150 years, but go ahead and tell us. Go on, tell us about yourself.
Thank you. So I started at the coroner's office.
Well, wait a minute. Before then, go back to like where you grew up. All that, yeah, I want the goods.
We're going way deep.
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. So grew up, born and raised here in Indianapolis.
Yay.
I partially grew up on the east side in Sutton Place.
Okay.
Those were my roots. And then moved in middle school to the west side, where I went to 108 and went to Northwest High School, graduate of Northwest High School. And dad still lives on the west side. I went to Purdue University.
Ooh.
And finished here at IUPUI, ran out of money a little bit.
That happens.
Came home and finished at IUPUI. And that gets to when I was at IUPUI, I needed to just work from 8 to noon.
Mm-hmm.
And I went through a temp service.
Okay.
And I didn't even know what the coroner's office was. I went in, I interviewed, and the first question was, can you handle looking at dead people? And I said, I don't know, but I will have to learn to handle looking at dead people because I didn't even know what that meant. And then I was shown photographs of someone who had a traumatic injury. And I'm going, okay, I can do this because I really need this job because I had 2 babies at that point. And I just needed a job so I could finish school. And at that point, by day 2, I loved that job. Wow. I loved that place.
What was it about that you, what was it that you fell in love with?
I fell in love with the people. So I was a secretary and I would answer the phones and people were calling, just asking questions about what happened to their loved one. And because I'm naturally an educator and I love education, I could answer those questions and explain to them and teach them what those next steps were. Right. I could explain what the cause of death meant, what the next steps were to understand what the cause of death was. And I loved that part of it. Okay. And so day 2, I was hooked. Okay. Like hooked. And I loved the investigation. So long time ago, my grandmother, when I was 5, my grandmother told me, so I would listen in on her conversations and I would ask her, Grandma, what are they talking about? What? And I couldn't wait for her to get off the phone to tell me the scoop. And she would, child, you sure are nosy. And I was like, I am getting paid to be nosy. See, I can ask questions and I have to get the answers as part of this investigation.
You got to get the scoop.
I needed to know, and I still need to know. I still have so many questions.
Oh my goodness. And I think I'm glad that people asked you, can you stand and look at a dead body? Because I don't know if I could, especially when you talk about traumatic injuries. I don't know if I got the stomach for. I literally when I was choosing between what I was going to go to school for, I was choosing between healthcare and IT, and I told myself the computers won't bleed on me, so I'm gonna go. It takes a special kind of. Do you think maybe like as a parent? Like, because, you changing diapers and kids be getting their stuff messed up, that maybe, being a parent might have helped prepare you a little bit?
It takes a special kind of person. Okay. You said that. It takes a special kind of person to do this work. And I just knew that this was where I belonged. This was where I was supposed to be. Even though initially it was not I did not feel looking at the decedents and looking at injuries and trauma. I wasn't feeling that, but later, I realized I needed to do that so I could understand and help the families understand. My number one goal and purpose when I first got that position is to help the families understand. And that's what I do.
So
to
you
this
make
day.
it through day 2 and you fall in love. Did you just start? What role did you start off in? What was that role?
So secretary.
Okay.
Then I finished undergrad, and I just asked, could I be trained as a deputy coroner?
Ooh.
And initially, I was told no. And I have to give credit to Dr. John McGough, who was the coroner at the time. And the chief deputy at the time told me I could not train, even though I had a bachelor degree. I was getting a bachelor degree, finishing like last month of education. And the chief deputy said no. And so one day I just happened to be there late, and John McGough, who was a Republican coroner at the time, was in, and I told him, I said, well, I'm finishing school, but I was not given permission to train as a deputy. And he said, well, why not? And I said, I don't know. And he said, sure you can.
Okay.
And so he gave me authorization there was a state certification that you had to take. He gave me the authorization, passed the certification, passed the training, and became the first African-American female certified in the state of Indiana as a deputy coroner.
The entire state?
The entire state.
Get out. Congratulations. I knew I wasn't crazy when I booked you by yourself on this last day of Women's History Month following Black History. Come on, sis.
Women's History. Yes.
Wow.
And I actually, when I decided to run, Dr. McGough was on the list of folks that I needed to call just to say, I'm running and thank you, because he gave me that opportunity without question. And so I became the first, and I have also, as part of women's history, what I'm also proud of is I was the first African-American female chief deputy coroner.
Love it.
I was the longest serving chief deputy coroner.
Come on.
So those things that I had never even thought about, when you're speaking about them, they do mean something. They mean something to every little girl who ever thought that she could not. I'm welcoming them. I'm telling them, and that's what I tell them. You can, if you claim it, you can. You can do it, right? So I didn't think about that at the time. You've already explained it. As women, when we go into these roles, never having a mentor or someone in these roles to look up to or to get advice from, it was difficult. It was difficult. I knew I had to work 10 times harder because people did not look at me as a woman who could do this job.
Wow.
And so working hard became a motto, almost to the point of destroying my family because I was at work so much. Yeah. Right. You know what that means.
Yeah. So
I was just at work all the time.
And the coroner is that one office that nobody ever wants to have to deal with, right? Because you're dealing with the loss of a life.
Yes.
Talk about what happens when a coroner is called out. I'm assuming well, you tell us, what type of cases that the Marion County Coroner's office undertakes.
So the coroner's office conducts investigations on all unusual and unexpected deaths, all deaths resulting from a homicide, a suicide, accidents, infant and child deaths, and those that are unknown, those deaths that are unknown for unknown circumstances. So we conduct over 3,000 death investigations annually, and we investigate those deaths. Not every decedent gets an autopsy, but we may investigate and look at medical records, or we may look at medical history to determine a cause and manner of death to the best of our ability. Now, the coroner is sort of the administrator of the office. There are other parts of the office that do some of the other work. For example, we hire forensic pathologists to perform autopsies,
Okay.
where you open the body to examine the interior of the body and look at organs, tissue, injuries, and those kind of things, also to determine the cause and manner of death. So we hire the forensic pathologist, but first you have to conduct an investigation. Why would we bring this decedent in? Why are we at the scene? And it's because of those reasons. And then from there, we make a decision if an autopsy needs to be performed, if an external exam needs to be performed, or if we just simply need to review medical records based on the person's medical history.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people think that autopsies are just automatically done on every single person that dies.
Mm.
Well, if that were the case, we would be performing 9,000 autopsies annually. And
No.
there's no capacity for that. We perform forensic examinations to determine those deaths that are suspicious or those deaths that are criminal in nature.
Okay.
So
okay.
for those cases, we perform examinations. And sometimes we don't know. We perform examinations to rule out things like homicide or other manners of death.
Okay.
So we do look at a lot of cases to determine what are the next steps. What next steps need to take place?
Okay, that is, that's deep. So when a body is brought in, I am assuming that it's the law enforcement agency, because I'm assuming you work closely with the sheriff's department or IMPD, right?
We work closely with IMPD and all of the other municipalities around Marion County.
Oh, really?
So Lawrence and Speedway and Beech Grove, all of those other law enforcement agencies that are in those municipalities, we're responsible, for working with them.
Okay. And since you brought that up, is there ever a time like there's a collaboration between counties on cases?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. The other interesting thing is there are, Marion County has the highest number of level 1 trauma hospitals.
Okay.
So oftentimes when there are incidents that happen in other counties where there is no trauma hospital, decedents are transported to Marion County and then they subsequently die. Then those become Marion County cases, even though the incident and the occurrence happened in another county. So I work very closely with all of the surrounding counties because those decedents come from those counties. So we have to get information and conduct investigations simultaneously with those law enforcement agencies as well.
So I am assuming that after hearing and learning about a decedent's case, you then have to relay that information back to this decedent's family. First of all, talk to us about the type of personality that is required to be able to sit down with a family who's already distraught and you have to share with them this investigative information.
Oh, yeah. So usually, if family is not already on scene, we have to find family. So part of what the laws are pertaining to the coroner is you have to identify the decedent and you have to notify family.
Okay.
So once you identify who this decedent is, there's only 4 ways that you can identify a decedent. That is fingerprints, dental, DNA, and visual identification from family.
Okay.
So once the decedent is identified, the next step is to notify the legal next of kin. So when we identify who that legal next of kin is, then we sit down and work with them and let them know we're conducting an investigation. So perhaps at the time that we make that notification, we may not know why their loved one died. Mm-hmm. All we know is that we were called based on a certain set of circumstances, that it was questionable, that it was suspicious in nature. We may know that it was due to a homicide or something like that, but we want to still make sure that we inform the family that we're still conducting an investigation alongside law enforcement. Once that is complete, we let them know what the cause and manner of death is of their loved one. And that becomes important to those families because obviously they want to know what happened.
Right, right.
A lot of times we rely on our law enforcement partners to give more detailed information in terms of the circumstances and any suspect information or, any part of the criminal investigation, because we don't want to impede or cause an issue with the criminal investigation. So we work very closely with law enforcement detectives typically in those instances to give more information on the criminal side. But we give as much information as we can as it pertains to the cause of death and the manner of death, if we know that. Sometimes the biggest problem that we deal with is sometimes we don't know. And so we have a situation where the cause and manner of death are pending, right? What that means is that we don't know. There was nothing that could really kind of be seen during the course of the examination, the body examination, and we're going to wait to see what's in the toxicology.
Okay.
Are there substances in the tox that we need to, that may have caused or contributed to the death? And so when we have those cases that are pending, that's when it's more difficult for families to kind of understand and get through that grieving process, because they simply just want to know how their loved one died.
Yeah, yeah, and I've often seen you also on doing the media aspect of it, where you show up on the scene like 24 hours a day, right?
So thank goodness we have deputies that attend to, because we're 24/7, right? So we have deputy coroners that are trained investigators, certified by the state, to conduct those daily death investigations. So yes, we're required to have someone on call. We typically have 3 people in a 12-hour period that are on call. So 3 people during the day, 3 people at night that are on call for the volume of death investigations that we have.
Which is
so
unfortunate.
There is always someone on call to conduct death investigations.
Have you ever had to do like, and this is, some people are going to say this is a controversial question, and I don't mean it to be, but your relationship with law enforcement has to be such that you can get what you need to conduct the investigation. But have you ever had to do like an internal investigation? Like something that happened internally, and there may not have been as much cooperation, and how did you handle it? It's more about how do you work with difficult situations, I guess.
Yeah. So, obviously, and we just have to speak what it is, right? Oftentimes we have had a number of police involved shootings. Our office is independent from law enforcement. And so we come in from a totally objective view and determine the cause and manner of death on any person that dies as a result of involvement with law enforcement or while in custody of law enforcement or the jail.
Right.
So when we conduct those investigations, regardless of what law enforcement says, we have to look at it from a totally objective point of view. Our goal is to determine the cause and the manner of that decedent's death. And sometimes, yes, in my 18 years, there have been cases where there was no cooperation. I can say that is not the case now. I am very happy that is not the case now.
Good.
We have had major cooperation from law enforcement, completely clear transparency with law enforcement. And we ask for whatever we need to determine the cause and manner of death of that decedent. So we have developed a better relationship because we do have to ask for things. There are reports, video, all kinds of things. And so it's gotten much better. But yeah, years ago, I can definitely say that there was, there was not cooperation all the time.
And how did you navigate through that? I mean, because they're just difficult situations. And as an administrator and as the top dog, you got to be able to manage your emotions, your feeling, because I'm listening to you explain to me about, we've got to find out what the manner of death for the decedent, like, and you ain't playing. Like, I hear that. So like, how do you manage, like, yo, bro, because see, I know what I can and I can't do, right? I be like, dog, I got to get this done. Why you messing around? Like, and it wouldn't even be that nice, right?
So listen, one of the things that I can say that I have been blessed with is patience.
Okay, there you go.
I have been blessed with patience, and I believe in communication. I believe in, if I don't get what I need from you, I have to go to the next reasonable person. So communication has been critical in getting the information that we need. And it has been critical in a lot of difficult situations, because when people shut down and they don't communicate, things don't get done.
Right,
And
right.
I believe we have to get things done. And so therefore we have to communicate. So I have just been blessed with patience.
I love it. I like, because I ain't got it, especially for stupid. I don't have time for stupid. Y'all,
I
Indiana's
love
on.
stupid. I love
Girl,
stupid.
I can't do stupid. I can't. Me and Nicole talk about it all the time. And she's like, Dana, you know you don't have patience for stupid. And I'm like, I don't. Y'all, Indiana's own Dana Black, turn left. We are talking to Marion County Coroner Candidate Alfie McGinty. Guys, if you are liking what she's talking about, she is running a campaign. So click on the donate link and donate to her campaign so that you can help her out and win this election, because you never know what little Republican coming around the corner. You just never know. They be showing up out the woodworks. Okay, I do have a question though. Like, is there like continuing education that you have to do to maintain your certification? And if so, what is it like?
Yes. So as a state certified medical legal death investigation, we are required to have 8 hours of continuing education every year. I usually get more because I am a nerd and I love learning.
Yes.
I'm a nerd and I love learning. So I usually am going to conferences and talking to people and trying to figure out where the next education session is and webinars. So all of the deputies across the state are required to get 8 hours of continuing education hours to continue their certification.
And so in the course of your education and continuing education, what are some of the things that surprised you about this business of being a coroner and deputy coroner and all that? What are some of the things that you went, oh my God, really? Or wow, I didn't know that? Because there's always something, right?
It's so much. Okay. So, I have ADD, right? So
love it.
The good thing is that I learn something, and it's something different every single day.
Okay.
Every day, everything is different. Every day there is something new. So I get to ask questions again. It's because I'm nosy. I get to ask questions. So the thing that has been the most, what do I want to say? It has been the most intriguing has been what has happened over the last 10 years with drug overdose deaths. It has impacted our office and other offices across the nation significantly. We have had to change the way we operate because there are more drug overdose or drug intoxication deaths than any other type of death over the last 5 years.
Wow.
So with that, there's so much to learn about new drugs, new drug trends, new emerging drugs that are coming on board. What are people ingesting? There is so much to learn. Like, I am trying to just keep up, and I'm considered what people call a subject matter expert because, again, with the coroner's office, our job is not only to conduct death investigations, but we are to identify trends that are causing people to die. And with that, then we're supposed to report that. So one of the things that I did early on in this opioid epidemic was to identify that, okay, what are we seeing? So I started at the office during the crack epidemic. Okay. And knew people who were using and abusing cocaine and crack. We didn't see deaths. That was back in 97. Okay. In 2010, we started to see more deaths related to pills. So it's about when you go on these death investigation scenes, you have to be able to have some common sense to document certain patterns of things that you see. Okay. So when we were going on these when deputies were going on these death investigation scenes, what we were seeing is more pills, more and more pills, more and more pills. And, so I'm like, what is this about? Why are we seeing more pills? And it resulted from people, doctors shopping, people having medications and opioids that were not prescribed to them. What that now has taught us is there was a significant amount of pills, opioids that were being distributed, right? And that legally because of the pharmaceutical companies, right? So when we started to see this, we would document all that. Then what I started to notice was, wow, now we're seeing way more heroin related deaths. We were seeing syringes. Those are things that you look for on scenes. Syringes and spoons, baggies of substances that we were finding. What is that, right? So you have to be able to ask those questions. And why are we seeing it on 5 scenes in the last week? During that time in 2012, 13, 14, because these things were noticed on scene, what I had to do was identify, okay, well, we're seeing way more heroin related deaths on these death investigation scenes, but why? Why is this happening? Because we didn't see that just 5, 6 years prior to that. We were seeing pills, now we're seeing heroin. If you follow the opioid epidemic, you will see that that's what the trend was, because the states were starting to crack down on the prescribing of opioids. People could not get the medication that they were freely getting from the pill mills all over the state, in Ohio and other neighboring states. So the decrease of the distribution of the pills, people still had developed an addiction. Because of that addiction, then the heroin market ballooned. And then we were seeing more people that were dying due to heroin.
Wow.
So those are the trends that we are responsible for reporting. So again, I report, okay, not seeing pills anymore, but now we're seeing heroin. Reported that, get all of the, prevention efforts in place to try to see what's going on with why are we seeing so many more heroin deaths. Then we started to see fentanyl in the toxicology screens.
Wow.
Again, so our job ultimately is not just to conduct death investigations, but also report any new trends that we're seeing of why people are dying. So I became fascinated in 2010 when I started to see all these different trends of what was causing people to die and seeing those numbers rapidly increase over the years. So we went from seeing probably 150 drug intoxication deaths to now in 2022, 801 drug intoxication deaths.
Oh my goodness.
Those are things that, needed to be reported to so many different agencies, the DEA, the police, the state, CDC. What was causing these trends from 2010 to now 2023? Did you
think when you started to see these trends, and before we came on the air together, you talked about how much you love politics, but do you think that our government, our elected leaders were seeing the trend as seriously as you were and were acting in this?
No, because it wasn't popular to hear from the coroner, like, we're seeing these deaths, and they're like, okay.
I'm the only one that's happy to talk to the coroner.
No, nobody wants to talk to us. We're seeing these deaths. Okay, so you're seeing these deaths, right? But they did not understand the magnitude of what was later going to happen, what was going to happen, and what we were continuously seeing. Even though we were reporting to the state, we were reporting at the national level. I believe in reporting because that's when we are able to make changes on policy. That's when we're able to implement and look at what can we do to make a difference in turning the thing around, right? And so when I started to see this, I just became more and more intrigued. And it was something I couldn't explain, because people weren't exploring it like I was. And I couldn't explain it, and I didn't know what to do and how to address it. I could offer, what could possibly help, but I'm like, we need to look at this. We need to look at this.
Well, wait a minute. What kind of things were you talking about? All of this is going to be date time stamped. So if somebody steals your idea, we know where it came from. So, so what kind of ideas did you have that maybe, you wish somebody had taken seriously, or it didn't get run up?
So I wanted to talk about it more. So I did a lot of talking about it to schools, to university classrooms, targeting people who we were seeing people that were dying in that age group.
Okay.
So I'm a believer in let's talk to the people who are impacted. So I wanted to talk to people more, started working with organizations. Why can't we have more naloxone? Now naloxone is available readily on the street, but I've been to Washington, D.C. to talk about this.
Wow.
In 2017, 18, I was invited to work with the CDC to put prevention and education efforts in place because Indiana was among the highest
Right.
where we were seeing drug overdose deaths. And because Marion County is the number one highest count of the largest county, we were seeing the most deaths. So we started talking about capturing the data and information and then what to do next.
Right.
And so it was mostly education, getting more naloxone made available, treatment,
Okay.
making treatment available for people that we were seeing that wanted treatment, but subsequently, again, when we ask questions, that's when we learn. When we ask families if they had an addiction, had they sought treatment, and maybe they had, or maybe they attempted, and there was nowhere for them to go.
Alfie,
right?
they could have, Indiana and the rest of the country could have used you in the 80s during the crack epidemic because they was just locking us up. You know what I'm saying? They was just locking us
like
up.
that was not the solution, right? So I saw that happening. I mean, I was young, but I still paid attention to what was going on.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, nobody.
We all saw New Jack City.
Yeah. Yes. And so nobody wants to talk to the coroner, right? Nobody wants to talk to us. Like, you just deal with dead people. Let's just leave that there.
We gonna call you CSI Marion County. That's what we gonna call you. All your investigations. You know.
I love it.
So how do you? Okay, you have been around sadness. You know, for a very long time in many cases, because again, unexpected deaths. How do you separate yourself and then go home and be fun-loving Alfie? Because you have such an amazing personality. We've always gotten along. Like, I used to love going to visit the coroner's office because I could go talk to Alfie, right? How do you manage to detach yourself so that you're still a whole human and not bogged down in the pain?
So and a lot of my staff, myself and a lot of my staff, we compartmentalize. And we compartmentalize where I do this to students all the time. I ask them, where do you work? They work at McDonald's. And my question to them is, do you go home and think about Big Macs?
Yeah, but a Big Mac ain't like no, Alfie. You trying to tell me somebody's had a traumatic injury and died is the same as a Big Mac?
Leave it there. Leave it there.
Wow.
Let it go. Leave it there. Leave it at the office.
I can't even leave an Blue account downstairs when I'm upstairs. I don't even. Not for me. Not for me.
So you have to be compartment. Now, I can say I am a workaholic. I am a workaholic to fault. It's a bad thing, but I still know when to separate it and let it go and live my life. Right. And I've gotten better in my seasoned age.
Okay.
I've gotten much better. However, though the things that I do, I have this driven passion. And so sometimes you're right. I can't let everything go because I need to just send that one last email or call that one last family because they just needed to know. It was pressing on my heart. I just need to call them and tell them, here's what the information is. My staff call me the people whisperer because I can get the most rowdy family. They're mad, rah, rah. And when I talk to them, it's more about how they're feeling and why they're feeling this way. And they are grieving and they have lost their loved one and they don't know why their loved one died and they just want information. And the first thing I ask them, tell me about your loved one. Tell me about your son. Tell me about your sister. Tell me about your daughter. And that brings a peace to them because in some ways people stop listening to them because of the loss. And so, you know, I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable here right now with you. This is difficult for me because I lost my son. And I lost my son in 2021, my precious Jimmy. He was my firstborn. And I lost him in 2021 to a fentanyl intoxication.
Wow.
And that was the hardest thing in my entire life.
Yeah.
I have seen everything with this office.
Yeah.
But when I lost my baby, it put me in a whole different scope of life.
I think I remember seeing that because I had left the city by that point. But I remember seeing it. I'm not nosy. Unless you tell me what happened, I ain't like you. I ain't finna, that's their business. I didn't ask. Like, I'll tell Nicole something. Nicole be like, why? I don't know. That's their business.
You could not be my friend because I need information.
See, I'm going to connect you with Nicole so y'all can sit around and go ask them questions.
Yes.
I'm so sorry to hear that. And I bet it was especially difficult when you've been watching the trends. You've been watching.
Yeah. And me and Jimmy were extremely close. And so I knew he had been on this journey.
Okay.
And we had talked about, he knew the work that I did. He knew everything that I poured into that particular type of death investigation. And we talked candidly about his addiction. His grandfather has an addiction, his father has an addiction, and he had an addiction. And we talked about it, and I told him, this is what will happen because this is what is on the streets.
Yeah.
You're not going to get the Xanax pill that you think you're going to get. You're going to get a pill that is laced with fentanyl, and you are going to die. And those were the hardest words I had to say to him until my deputy called me and told me that my son had died. It put me in a different space of understanding the meaning of this office and what I need to do to help families going through this grieving process. Because grief is hard.
Yeah.
Grief is ugly.
Yeah.
And it just pops its little ugly head up at any given time. And families call when it pops its head up and they want information, they want to know, right?
Yeah.
So understanding that, it gives me a different perspective. And so when I say I want to finish what I've started, as a result of COVID, I saw people grieving because of sudden and unexpected loss of their loved ones. In 2020, I called a friend of mine who was a chaplain with the police department, and she no longer worked for the police department. And I saw her walking down the street, and I said, will you please come to my office and help me? Because we're losing people due to COVID unexpectedly. People don't know what to do. Right. This is different.
Right.
Thousands of people died due to COVID suddenly and unexpectedly. One day they were alive, the next day they were gone. So she said yes. And I said, I don't even know really what I want you to do, but one thing that I know families need is a call. Yeah. Just call a family, call the families that of all of our cases every single day and offer condolences. That's all I knew at the time. 2020. Yeah. That's all I knew. We were all stuck in the house, and I just said, people are grieving. We need help.
Right.
They need help because, we didn't know what was going on. So she came and just started calling families and offering condolences. And I got so many people calling back saying, thank you just for calling to offer condolences, because we're already isolated. Yeah. We already can't have a funeral. Yeah. We can't get together. I'm alone. And the simple phone call from someone from the coroner's office made me feel so much better.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. It sounds like you're the perfect person for this role. Cause you talked about, your son, and I can't even imagine because I'm too chicken to even have kids. So I already know, but I did lose a dear friend, to COVID, on April 4th. And so, you talked about that, and we were isolated and we were alone, and she was in Chicago. I couldn't even if I wanted to get to her, I couldn't have got to her, and I think it's that level of humanity that is missing. Cause even in the debate that I watched the other day, Lieutenant Governor Crouch talked about how, we won't shut the government down again. If people were dying. The idea that you were going to say you're not going to do everything possible to save people's lives so they don't die because you want to make money. Lieutenant Governor Crouch is just like, I'm done with her. Like, no, girl, go back to Evansville. We're done with you. Literally said that she didn't want to. We had to shut down so that we could keep. Hard. We had to shut down so people could live. And these people act like they forgot that thousands of people were dying every day. And here you were. The only thing that you could offer was a phone call, and you encouraged your team through your leadership to reach out to people. And yeah, Alfie, you don't have a primary appointment, so I can tell you, I'm going to vote for you. It's a wrap.
That's why I'm running. I just want to finish what I've started. From that, Dana, it grew. It just grew into, okay, well, if we can make a call, then I want to have social workers because I want social workers to make more calls, right?
Okay.
Then I asked for opioid settlement funds because what I also noticed was when you're dealing with grief and loss and trauma, there's mental health issues
Yeah.
that are substantially exacerbated by the loss of a loved one.
Mm-hmm.
So when you have that, we need to restore our community's mental health. So that is the program that I have in place now, where I ask for free mental health resources to provide counseling, substance abuse, mental health services for free to anyone in Marion County who are dealing with grief, loss, substance abuse, trauma, and anything else that they may need to get treatment for. Because I was fortunate enough to have insurance when my son died, where I knew I needed counseling because I went to a dark place.
Yeah.
I went to a dark place, and I said, my son Jimmy was one of 800. I know I'm not the only one doing this, dealing with this grief. And I got the funds. The mayor's office gave me the funds to provide free mental health resources for those who need it.
Wow.
And we have reached over 2,000 people. We have provided services for over 300 people who have accepted the services. And even if they didn't, they said, we appreciate you asking.
That's what's up.
Making calls every single day. Do you need these resources? Here's what we can do. The other thing, Dana, that was important to me, because what I saw during that time period in death investigations, I was seeing more African Americans die as a result of drug intoxication and drug overdose deaths.
Interesting.
And we as culturally, it is difficult for us to seek treatment.
Yep.
And we want someone that looks like us.
Yep.
So I got 4 mental health providers that are African Americans that can provide these resources, that counseling, that therapy, that cultural need for those that look like us in our community. So again, I just want to finish what I've started.
I love it. You know what? I never knew until tonight that the coroner's office was the gateway to the governor's office. I did not know that until tonight. No, listen, you're term limited. You only got 8 years to be coroner. And I know after running for office, you may not want to go back to being chief deputy. So just remember, there are other offices you can run for, because I'm telling you, you are incredibly dynamic. Your lived experiences is so wide and vast that you will be able to see things that literally, there were 5 people on the stage last night that could not hold a candle to the human experiences that you have had working in the coroner's office for 18 years, working for government for 18 years, and what that looks like, and understanding the bureaucracies and the red tapes and how to ask for something and where can you go to get this resource. I'm telling you.
How to make $1 out of 15 cents.
Well, that's a Black woman thing. You to learn that no matter where you worked at. We know how to make nothing out of, we can make a meal out of some rice and a couple of chicken thighs. You know what I'm saying? I am, like I said, y'all, Alfie is running for Marion County Coroner. I've had the pleasure of knowing her probably since about 2014, 2015, something about that time. And what you see is what you get. This is real. You can't talk for an hour and then switch it on, switch it off. This is Alfie. Guys, donate to her campaign. Click on the link. If you can only give $5 today, or maybe make $5 a month, $10 a month, donate to her campaign, because we want to make sure that we have people that understand what it is that we go through in our communities, looking out for these offices and looking out for, you don't want somebody that just dismisses Black bodies or trans bodies, or, listen, white bodies are important too, but they gonna get the attention they need. We need somebody that understands the rest of us. And I'm telling y'all, Alfie's got everything we need. So please, please donate to her campaign. Sign up to be a volunteer. Because like I said, you never know when a Republican's going to show up at the woodwork. Honey, they show up in Marion County. We got to beat them down like we did Jefferson Shreve. Oops, did I say that? Did I say that? Tell the people where they can find you.
So people can find me. I have a website, www.alfie4coroner.com. And go on there. You can learn anything about me, the next events that I have coming up. Just follow me on Facebook, Alfie McGinty. That's it. Dana, you are so kind.
I'm not
I
kind.
appreciate this
I tell the truth.
opportunity. I just appreciate the opportunity, and anyone who wants to learn more, DM me on Facebook, send me a message on the website, email me on the website, www.alfie4corner, ALFIEFORCORONER.
You know, and I think it's funny that you said it, you know, I'm being kind. I was so grateful that you said yes. I was so grateful that no, there are some guests that you already know are like super dope, super califragilisticexpialidocious. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I knew because of our interaction and that chemistry and that Black woman love and let me help you, you help me. And I just want to see you succeed in everything that you do. And however I can help you, reach out to me. Let me know what you need from me, especially in Marion County, because I believe in you. I believed in you way back then. You know, Dr. Sloan is my dog, you know, and I didn't know she was terminal. I'm like, what's Alfie doing? What? When I first saw it, I was like, what is she doing? You know, but
why's she doing that?
But Dr. Sloan, big ups to Dr. Sloan, because we ran the same year together. So she's always going, we both ran in 2016 together. That's when we met. And she was so hype, and you know, a lot of people didn't have that energy, and me and her would show up at a joint and we would turn it out. And then watching her babies grow up, and one of them turned into a model, one turned into basketball. I mean, just you know, so this is just my tip of the hat to Dr. Sloan, because
she's like my big sister. Definitely she has my back.
Well, the office will be in great hands when we elect you. Obviously, you're going to be on the May primary. You don't have a primary opponent, but you will be on the general ballot in November. In Marion County, let's turn out and let's send Alfie McGinty to the coroner's office, or at least let her stay and run it now. Right? Because that's where she been. Yes. All right. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Listen, this was one of my favorite interviews. I got to tell you, but I was looking forward to it. I wanted you guys to get a hint of what goes on in that coroner's office. And there's only one way to get that information, is by somebody that's been in there in the nuts and bolts of it all. And that's what she's been doing. So donate to her campaign. Don't forget to tune in. I got more candidates coming up. Thank you for letting me have a week off last week. Guys, there's so much happening. You see what's happening in Georgia? You see what they doing? They coming, any Black person that tries to do something wonderful, they gonna try to hurt us and take us out. Okay? Get involved. Get politically engaged. Understand who's on your ballot. Donate to candidates. Time, talent, or treasure. Because if we don't get engaged and get involved this year, man, I'm too old to do what other people tell me to do. I need to be able to live my life. So I ain't gonna last long in the fascist regime. I'm telling you now. Indiana's own ain't gonna make it. So let's make sure I ain't gotta deal with that. Take care of my mental health. But in the meantime, I will holler at y'all next week. Peace.
Turn Left is the property of Black Pearl IT Solutions. Executive producer, Indiana's own Dana Black. Music by www.bensound.com.